Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be doing a green smoky eye with a semi-cut crease. So I've already applied my foundation and my primer, and I'm now going to go in with the Correction Concentrate in Brightening Peach by Pixi, and this is going to cancel out any dark circles I still have going on that are peeking through my foundation. And you can apply this with your fingers or with a brush. I like to get a spatula first and then tap it in with my fingers. I will now be going in with the Maracuja Oil by Tarte, and I'm just going to use this to help prime my lips. And I also felt like my lips were a little bit dry, so I did apply the Kapari Coconut Balm as an extra layer of moisture to my lips because, like I said, they were a little dry and I felt like I needed a little bit more conditioning for them. Now it's time for a magic trick. You see me with no brows, and now I have brows. Ta-da! I'm going to do a little bit of cream contouring and bronzing, and I'm going to go in with the Sultan de Chanel by Chanel. This is a little pricey, but it is my favorite cream bronzer because it doesn't look muddy and it's super easy to apply. And I'm just applying this with a little foundation brush that I got at my BoxyCharm, and this is by Luxie, but you could use any like dense fluffy brush, like a foundation brush that is good for cream products and liquid products because it'll buff it out super easy. But any cream products that you personally like to use for bronzing is totally gonna work for this step, or you could skip the step altogether. I just felt like I needed a little bit more warmth back onto my skin. Now it's time for concealer, and I'm going to be using the LANCôME Teint Idole Ultra Wear Concealer in the shade 090, and I'll be using this with a flat Alamar Cosmetics brush, and I'll be using the brush to blend it out underneath my eyes. And I won't be using a lot of this concealer because it is full coverage, so a little bit does go a very, very long way. Once I've distributed most of the product, I'm going to be using my Sonia Kashuk blending sponge to buff this into my skin and make sure that it's nice and blended and that it's mixing in well with my bronzer. I'm also using the leftover concealer that's left on my sponge to prime my lids for my eyeshadow, and I'm literally just taking whatever I have left on my sponge from buffing out my concealer and just blending in on top of my lids. Now to clean up my cream bronzer, I'm just taking the edge of my beauty sponge and dabbing it onto my face, make sure that it is nice and clean, and I'm going to then take the other side of my beauty sponge that has no product on it and make sure that there's no harsh lines from blending in everything. Now I'm going to set the rest of my face, and I'm going to be using the Marc Jacobs Finish Line Perfecting Coconut Setting Powder in the shade Invisible, and I'm going to be using this just to set like the lower half of my face, not underneath my eyes, and I'm using a buffing brush by Tarte Cosmetics. Now I'm just going to make sure that my under eye is nice and blended and that there are no creases, and I'm using my Luxie Pro Precision brush, and I'm going to set the rest of my under eyes with my Essence Brightening Powder in the shade Banana. And just to make sure that there are no harsh lines underneath our under eye, I'm taking my beauty sponge to make sure everything's nice and blended and smooth before I go ahead and set my under eye with my Eco Tool sponge. Now that I'm done brightening up my under eye, I'm going to take the same Tarte brush that I used to set the rest of my face to just blend in both powders together and make sure that there are no harsh lines from my brightening powder to the powder that I used to set my face. Now I'm going to take the RCMA No Color Powder and an angled brush to do a little trick I love doing when I know I could have a lot of fallout and I've already done my base. So what I do is I take my brush, dip it inside the powder, and you could use any translucent powder to do this trick as well. And what I do is I take my brush and I make a nice elongated line from the corners of my eyes to the ends of my eyebrows, doing essentially the same thing as tape method without the tape. Now I'm just going to take my beauty sponge and create a nice layer underneath my eyes so that this can catch any fallout that might fall a little bit lower, and it will help not ruin my base because I can just brush this all off at the very end. Now I'm going to use the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill Bulk Collection palettes in Dark Magic and Arm & Gorgeous. Also be using the Alamar Cosmetics Reina del Caribe palette. I'm now going to go in with the Deluxe Crease brush by Real Techniques. I'm going to use this to blend out my concealer, since you can definitely tell right now that it's creased since I haven't set it. And I'll also be using my beauty sponge to make sure that it's nice and smoothed out. Now that I've blended everything out, I'm going to go in with the first shade called Coco-Taxi from the Alamar Cosmetics palette, and I'm just going to be taking a nice fluffy brush, and I'm first going to pat it onto my crease, and after it's nice and patted, then I will start buffing it out. After I've laid that color down, I'm going to go in with the shade Access from the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill palette, and this is the Arm & Gorgeous palette, and I'm going to use this as well to blend out the first shade I put down, and I'm patting it on first and then I'm going to blend out. And I'm using the same brush that I used for the first shade to blend everything out. I'm now going to go in with a slightly smaller blending brush, and this is just a little bit shorter than the first brush I used, and I'm going to go into the shade called Tropico from the Alamar Cosmetics palette, and this is their volume 1 palette. I know they just released a second one earlier this month, but I'm going in with the original Reina del Caribe palette. once I finish blending those shades in together, I'm going to be using the shade called Smooth Criminal from the Armed and Gorgeous palette. And I'm first going to pack this onto the outer V, and I will pack it on first with my brush, and then I will start blending it into my crease. And what I like to do is I like to pat, and you can see that I'm doing it here. I'm packing it on first, and then I'm going in windshield wiper motions into my crease. The reason I like doing it this way is because you don't have to keep blending in the product. This way you just pack on the color first and then blend it out versus having to pack on, blend. This way you don't have to keep repeating the same steps and you get to achieve the same outcome. And here you'll see me pack on the color, and then voila, I have my whole eye done. Look at that, super quick. Here I'm just going to blend in the shade Coco-Taxi just one more time, just to deepen everything up without using the brown and making it too dark all at once. This is one of my favorite things to do because I don't want to darken up the shade too much and then have to start all over because I have a super dark eye. Instead, I like to take a medium like shade and blending it in and making sure everything has been blended with no harsh lines. Now I'm going to take a clean brush and make sure that all of my edges are nice and blended and that there are no harsh lines from where I've been shading everything on my lids to where I would be doing my brow bone highlight. Now it's time to cut our crease, and what I'll be doing is I'll be taking a flat shader brush with concealer on it, and I'll be starting at the middle of my eyes or my eyelids, and I'll be working my way up, and I'll be doing this in small strokes so that I create a nice even surface for where we're going to apply our shimmer shades. Now I'm going to take a smaller shader brush and I'm going to go in with the shade Classified from the Armed and Gorgeous palette, and what this is a nice goldy brown shade, and I'm going to start packing this onto the very edge of my cut crease, and I'm going to be blending this in later on to the matte brown that we have going on in our outer V. So I did not notice that my camera died and I thought I was filming this entire time. So I will be doing the other eye on camera, but essentially this is what our end result will be, is what I have going on my other eye. But I will be tweaking it a little bit just because I felt like it needed a little bit more green in it, but you'll see what I do. Here I'm just cutting my lid one more time and I'm showing you guys step by step exactly how I'm doing it. So I'm going in slowly but surely, starting in the middle once again, and then working my way up, making sure that I make a nice flat surface and I create a perfect round for where I want my crease to start and end. Now that I finished cutting my crease, I'm going to go in with that shade Classified from the Armed and Gorgeous palette, and this is that beautiful brown gold. It has a slight green shift to it, which is what I loved about it for this look, and I'm just going to be packing this onto the outer part of our cut crease. Now I'm going to be going in with the shade Trickery, and this is from the Dark Magic palette by Jaclyn Hill and Morphe, and I'm going to be putting this on my outer V, focusing more so where my brown and my gold shade meet, the first shade, the shimmer shade we put down. And I'm going to be doing this so that there's a nice blend from dark to light and also from where my mattes and my shimmers begin. Now I'm going to go in back with the shade Classified from the Armed and Gorgeous palette, and I'm going to be blending this into the Trickery shade, just making sure that there's a harsh line from the Trickery shade to the Classified shade. Now I'm going to take the shade El Malecón from the Alamar Cosmetics palette, and I'm going to put this on my inner eyelid. So everywhere that we haven't put eyeshadow down, basically this is where this is going to go. And this is a beautiful like icy olive green, and I'm basically going to use this to make like an ombre effect onto our lids. And to blend everything out, I am literally taking my finger and I'm just patting on a little bit more eyeshadow, and then I'm using my finger to blend it out just so that there's not any harsh lines and that everything is blended seamlessly. Now that I'm basically done, I'm brushing off that translucent powder from underneath my eyes just with that fluffy brush. I'm going to go into the shade Classified and I'm going to blend this into my crease. And what I like to do is I like to blend it in just so that there's a little bit more of a gradient effect from our crease to our eyelids. And also this will help darken up our crease just a little bit more so that it's a little bit more bold and more of a smoky eye. I will now be applying the Victoria's Secret Velvet Matte Liquid Lip in the shade Wanted, and then I will be going over that with a glossy lip by ColourPop in the shade Moonchild. Now I'm going to use the Butter Bronzer by Physicians Formula in the shade Light to contour and bronze my face. Now I'm taking my Park Avenue Princess palette by Tarte, and I'm going to use the two lightest shades in the palette to brighten up my under eye, and I'm just going to use this with a nice tapered brush. Now it's time for my favorite part, and I'm going to be highlighting my face with the Amrezy and Anastasia Beverly Hills highlighter, and I'm going to be taking this on my cheekbones, my brow bone, my nose, pretty much anywhere and everywhere that I haven't put highlighter, I will be putting highlighter on. Now I'm going to take my Thayer's Witch Hazel Facial Mist in Cucumber, and I'm going to set the rest of my face, and I'm going to let that dry, and then I will be going in with more highlight. Now with the shade La Costa from the Alamar Cosmetics palette, I will be using that to highlight the inner corner of my eyes and also highlight my brow bone. shade Smooth Criminal, I'm going to go in with the flat brush, and I'm going to start lining my lower lash line so that later on I can go ahead and smoke it out with a different shade. Now with the small dome brush, I'm going to take this shade Coco-Taxi from the Alamar Cosmetics palette, and I'm going to buff that into my lower lash line and start blending in the two shades together. I applied mascara and eyeliner off camera, and this is our final look. What do you guys think? I had so much fun creating this look for you guys. If you guys recreate it, please tag me in on Instagram, and I will see you guys in my next tutorial. Love you guys. Bye.